Welcome back. Fresh news, hot off the press, we're getting a rework to some of the locations in Berlin. To be honest, I have kind of mixed feelings about this. I think a lot of the changes that they made to the Normandy maps made sense. I think they added some cover. I think some of the changes here are good, but I think some of them are questionable. So, first we're starting with the banks of the Spree. The first two things that I noticed. Number one, the bridges are moving in, so the map is getting a little bit narrower. Obviously, you'll still be able to come out to these side areas, but whether or not that's a good thing, it's probably a good thing. Right now, I rarely see people make it out to the bridges, and I rarely see people go across them. So it'll probably be a good thing. People will have more ways across the river. On the downside, it also feels like it's funneling everybody into the middle of the map more than they already were. But the other aspect that stands out to me, if I move this back and forth, the map's getting less cluttered. Now they are changing some of the cover on the bridge, so there's more cover perpendicular to the bridge, or so it looks. But out in the open, the streets in Berlin are usually pretty packed. There's usually lots of debris on them, and it looks like they're getting rid of a lot of that. The positive side to that is that it's going to be easier for tankers to move around the city. You're going to get stuck on less stuff, and you're going to crash less often. The downside is that it's going to be easier for tankers to get around the city and shoot things. Right now, a lot of this cover is great for infantry trying to advance, and without it, this is going to be pretty open. It's going to be pretty easy or at least it's going to be easier for tanks to lob shells at infantry in the open, and there's going to be less stuff for them to crash into and get stuck on. And one of the things I appreciate about Berlin is how it feels like a nightmare to play as a tanker, because it's so cramped and so narrow and there's so much debris, and I think that's part of what gives the location character. So I'm a little bit disappointed to see that going away, but I think the bridges moving is probably a good thing. Similar with Hitler's bunker, they're again getting rid of a lot of the cover and debris. As you can see, this is the old version. The trench lines are getting shorter. The trolleys on the road are going away. Well, some of them are going away. Some of them are staying. In general, it looks like there's going to be more routes that are open, and it looks like there's going to be less cover built into the map. Now, I'm sure a big reason why they're doing this is they're bringing in these trucks and these mechanized infantry, and I bet they're trying to open up routes for them to go through. Plus, you have to understand that there's going to be more debris on the battlefield from them being destroyed if people bring them into the game. If people don't, though, these maps are going to open up more, and it's going to be a lot easier for machine guns and tanks to turn this place into a bit of a hellstorm. It's already, on this particular map, it's already difficult advancing through this area from Goebbels Manor towards the Reichschancellery. And I'm concerned that by shortening the trench lines and removing a lot of the cover on the road, it's going to be easier to get vehicles through there, and as we blow up vehicles, it'll populate up, but it's really easy to bleed a lot of tickets really quickly here. So, at least to me, I understand the motivation for the changes, but they're very questionable to me. On to Straßenreichstag. It's not super significant what they're changing here. They're moving this rubble pile to open up the street there a little bit more, so it again will be easier to move large vehicles through there. And they're also moving some of the debris over on the right. It still will be an issue getting past this initial pile of rubble here, but instead of having a line of cars and a blown up tank, we now look like we just have a blown up tank. That, I think, is the only change here. Everything else more or less looks the same. Then onto the Reichstag itself. This is probably the least significant changes, but interestingly, this one looks like it's getting more debris and more cover. Although, looks like there's a... in general, it just looks like it's getting more cover. Here it's kind of sparse, but they're opening up this middle area a little bit. Instead of having it be walled off, I'm sure you'll be able to get transports through there. But in general, it looks like there will at least be more cover here, so that's probably a good thing. So not super huge changes. Nice to be getting more news and that they're continuing to update some of the older maps. Banks of the Spree, I'll be really interested to see how it plays out. It's already a standoff mess where you can easily get mowed down on these streets back here. So removing some of the cover I think is kind of concerning there. Same with Hitler's bunker area, but Strasse and Reichstag, I think they're probably going to be alright. The Reichstag changes look pretty good. The Strasse ones I think are so insignificant it doesn't matter. But yeah, let me know what you think. You excited for the maps to get updated? Would you like to see different changes? Let me know.